Ready?
1 second.
Hello, viewers. This is attorney Gehi, and I know that the video is streaming on Facebook. And welcome to Green Card with Gehi. So today, as I mentioned, that we'll be talking about the problems which are being faced by students in this country, especially students who come into this country under the non-immigrant visa category. Of course, when students came to this country, they did not anticipate that they would be facing such a big issue in this country. And now a lot of the students are disheartened, especially because of the economy, and the economy is going to slow down. So the question is that we are going to talk about what options are available for people who are on student visas in this country. So firstly, I don't want people to get nervous because I know it's a nerve-wracking situation for every student in this country, especially those who are on H1B visas and who had these big dreams of making it, very big in the United States. So the very first thing is that let's talk about student visas and people who are currently in school, as well as people who have taken admissions into the H1B visa programs and people who are on OPT. Now, the first category is meant for students who are coming to the country and after having the I-20s, and how are they going to do? Or especially for students who are coming into the country who are already admitted, I would say that there's nothing much to worry about, especially because if you belong to a STEM occupation, the rules have not changed. So go to school, study hard, and after you graduate, the good thing is that you have approximately 3 years of optional practical training. Now we are going to break this category down into students who are already in the STEM occupation and people who are joining universities and who are planning on enrolling in majors that are related to the STEM program. STEM, I'm sure everybody knows, as science, technology, math, and electrical engineering and whatnot, really. That's STEM. So let's talk about this in detail. Now you're dealing with students who come over here and you are in school right now and you belong to the STEM occupation. And now like you're literally in the process of graduating from school. Is there anything for you to be nervous about? The answer is no. So I'm going to tell you all the options that are available to you. Now you graduated under the STEM program. The first thing that you need to do is look for an employer if possible. You found an employer, and if I were you, even if things are going to be rough, the good thing about OPT is that the employer doesn't have to pay you the prevailing wages like the H1B program requires. For example, if you're a programmer, or if you are a physical therapist, or if you belong to, any other professional occupation such as architecture, or like if you're an artist, even if you start with a minimum wage, that's okay. As far as you found a job, that's okay. So the first thing is that don't look at those rosy pictures or those big days wherein as a computer programmer, when you started, you used to get around $30 an hour. That may not happen. So even if you can get a foot in the door, so that's step number one, which you've accomplished. Now, after that, what can you do? Is you have to prove yourself to the company that you are a very, very good worker. And if you are special, unique, and extraordinary, then your employer can even consider to sponsor you on a green card during your OPT. One common question which I get from a lot of students is that, Mr. Gehi, isn't it necessary for me to go on an H1B visa before an employer sponsors me? The answer is no. I know some of you are surprised because everyone has this kind of template in the brain that for me to get my green card, I have to be on an H1B. The answer is no. So if you're on a student visa, after that, especially if you belong to the STEM occupation, and if you are not from India, and if you're not from China, and if you're from any other country, if you're from Guyana, you're from Trinidad, or if you're from Africa, if you're from Poland, or any country from where the priority date is current, start talking to your employer. And after you start talking to him, and if he likes you very much, tell him that, sir, I'm ready to work hard for you. Don't you think I'm an exceptional employee? And if your employer believes that you are an exceptional employee, and if he's ready to hold your hand based upon your credentials, based upon the bona fide needs of the occupation, the good news for you is your employer can begin, yes, he can begin the green card process. Now, very often, a lot of students ask me, Mr. Gehi, how much time will it take for me to qualify for my green card? So the average time frame for people from countries where the priority date is current, I'm not talking about India or China. If you are actually, let's take an example from Pakistan, or if you are from Guyana, you're from Trinidad, you're from Poland, you're from the UK, or if you are from, Africa, you're looking at around a year and a half, depends on the category you can qualify in. So that is one thing that you need to look into very carefully. Start talking to your employer. Rule number one. Second thing, what happens when you cannot find an employer? I know that can be difficult, but I still have some other good news for you. People think about marriage. So this is this nowadays, like people think that if you have to get married, you have to get married to a citizen. Not necessary. If you are in student status, even if you marry a green card holder, you may qualify for a green card in a year and a half. So the thing is that start exercising your options. This is very important for you. The third thing that I would look at very carefully if I'm a student in this country, and if you belong to a country wherein you can be persecuted because of your race, because of your religion, or because of your membership in a social group, then you need to consider political asylum. And, very often people tell me that, are you familiar that, Mr. Gehi, there's a 1 year window for people who come into this country, they have to apply. Remember one thing, under the law, even if you are late, you can fight your case under exceptional circumstances, depending upon the facts and circumstances of your case. Now, what happens if you do not qualify for asylum? Then you can qualify for withholding of removal. The burden of proof is very high. It's much higher than an asylum case. If not, then you consider relief under Article 3 of the United Nations Convention Against Torture. Consider relief under Article 3 of the United Nations Convention Against Torture. So these are alternative reliefs. And one thing which I tell a lot of students, I speak to them, we let them know that do not become out of status in this country. Because the sad thing is that all your doors start closing when you become out of status in this country. The other thing that you need to do is that if you're on a student visa, and if you are in that vulnerable situation wherein you think you're going to lose your status, apply for a change of status. Sometimes there have been cases we've been able to help students to qualify for an O visa. Now, what's an O visa? O visa is meant for people who are extraordinary. And there are students who are very bright and they have these wonderful credentials. Some of them actually have, written publications. Now, some of them have these outstanding kind of, achievements in different kind of faculties. So let's take an example that if you're a well-known dancer, or if you're a well-known martial artist, you don't have to think about the H1B. And if you're a well-known performer, think about the O visa. So you changed your status from a student visa to an O visa. Now, is it necessary for you to complete the program, or during the program, can you get an O visa? That's a question that someone asked me. Do you know that if you have the credentials even now, while you're on a student visa, while you're pursuing school too, you can still go for the O visa right away. So the first thing that you need to think is that if you're an outstanding professional, you're a great swimmer, and this particular gym wants to hire you as a well-known kind of swimming coach. Think about it. You're one of the best yoga teachers, and you've been written about a lot about your yoga techniques and everything. And if you're someone who's a top-notch martial artist, as far as you don't beat me up, I'll be happy to take over your case. So basically, so the thing is that there are ways in immigration, but your lawyer has to be pretty experienced to analyze your situation. So these are things that only come with experience, especially because starting a case is one thing, but looking at the case, doing your legal research, analyzing the facts and circumstances of the case needs a lot of experience. So remember, when you see a lawyer, the very first thing you need to see whether this lawyer knows basically the section of the law he's talking about. Does he know basically, what are the factors that are needed in these cases? What are the requirements for an asylum? So when you talk to your attorney, make sure that you ask them those questions. So therefore, you will know as to what you need to do. And things are going to get difficult after COVID 2019. And immigration is going to become more and more conservative. So it's your life at stake. It's for you to make a decision as to what you want to do about your future. So there's a student who asked me this very interesting question. And he said, Mr. Gehi, if I cannot basically, do anything in this country, and if I feel I don't have a sponsor, I cannot find someone to marry me, I cannot apply for asylum, I don't want to change my status, what should I do? My answer was very simple. Go back home. Go back home, because you should not spoil your visa status. That's rule number one. And that's a golden rule, and that's a classic, which I would like to mention on my show. Stay legal as much as you want. You should be legal at all times. Now, what happens to a student who is currently out of status? What can he do? I tell people, if you do not want to take the risk of going back to the country, get married to an American citizen. So we have many students who come in and see me regularly, and they become out of status. What have we done for them? We have basically kind of looked into the facts and circumstances of the case. They come into our office and they get married to American citizens. And the good thing is that if you're out of status, you can marry a member of the same sex or a member of the opposite sex, as far as your marriage is a bona fide marriage and it is not intended with an intent to circumvent the immigration laws of the United States. And folks, we handle immigration cases from all over the United States and the world. And we are having this Zoom meeting. So I request everyone to log on to a Zoom meeting, press that particular button. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to take those questions for you. So as I said, this show will be conducted, that's Green Card with Gehi, will be conducted on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to share the link. And it's going to be on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m., wherein we'll be talking about very important topics. And thank you so much for watching the show. This is Attorney Gehi from Gehi and Associates. Yes, we are functioning. And our phone number is 718-263-5999. And our initial consultation is free. And if you want to email us, you can email us at info@gehilaw.com. The instant program constitutes an attorney advertisement under the laws of the state of New York. We'll be back with you this Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. for another interesting show. And the topic is how to fight your deportation, especially if you are in deportation or if you have been ordered deported, and if you have an asylum case, and if your hearing is coming up before the immigration judge, what you need to do. Thank you so much for watching. Save our link, and don't forget Green Card with Gehi every Monday and every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.